Hey everyone, and welcome. Getting ready for a big interview for an ergonomist role. Well, you've come to the right place.
We're going to dive deep today into some of those common interview questions you might get hit with, give you some tips to really stand out.
Perfect. So how about we jump right in? One of the first questions you might encounter is, how did you become interested in ergonomics? Seems simple enough, right?
It is, but don't underestimate it. This is your moment to let your passion shine through.
Yeah, it's not just about listing off credentials, right?
Exactly. It's about that spark, that moment you realized ergonomics was your calling. Like that entry-level ergonomist mentioned in the career guide, whose passion was fueled by experiencing a poorly designed workspace firsthand.
It's those personal stories that stick with people. Okay, next up, a classic. How do you stay current with the latest developments in ergonomics?
This one's all about showing you're in it for the long haul, that you're committed to continuous learning and growth.
So more than just saying you read articles or attend conferences, right?
Way more. Get specific. Are you part of any professional organizations? The career guide highlights the IEA and HFES as excellent resources.
Good point. Mentioning those shows you're plugged into the right networks. Have those been helpful in your own career?
Definitely. They're gold mines of information, research, industry trends, networking, you name it.
Now let's talk about problem solving. Can you describe a time when you had to solve a complex ergonomic problem? This one's all about action, right?
It is, and this is where the STAR method comes in.
For those who haven't encountered that before, could you break down what the STAR method is?
Absolutely. It stands for situation, task, action, result. It helps structure your answer in a clear, impactful way.
So it's like setting the scene, explaining your role, what you did, and the outcome.
Exactly. And speaking of outcomes, the career guide gives a great example of a junior ergonomist who used the STAR method to explain how they tackled a challenge in a manufacturing plant.
What was the situation? What did they do?
They noticed a lot of workers on the assembly line experiencing discomfort. Using the STAR method, they walked the interviewer through how they pinpointed the high-risk workstations, did ergonomic assessments, and worked with engineers to change the design.
Wow, that's impressive. And the result?
Less discomfort, happier workers, the whole package.
Okay, next up. How do you balance the needs of workers with the demands of the business when making ergonomic recommendations? That's a tough one.
It's about finding that sweet spot, that win-win where everyone benefits.
Easier said than done sometimes, right? How do you approach that?
Acknowledge both sides. You're an advocate for worker well-being, but you also understand the company's needs. For example, if you're suggesting new chairs, yes, they cost more upfront, but they could save money long-term.
Right, less discomfort often means more productivity. Speaking of which, this feels like a good time to mention RoleCatcher.
Oh, absolutely. It can be a game changer, especially for tailoring your answers to specific roles.
Right. Their database is incredible. RoleCatcher Your Competitive Edge says they have data on over 9 million employers and 14,000 resources.
That's right. Say you're interviewing at a tech company. RoleCatcher might suggest you weave in keywords about computer ergonomics, things relevant to that field.
That's so helpful. It's like having a secret weapon for interview prep.
Exactly. Okay, ready for another question?
Absolutely hit me.
How do you incorporate diversity and inclusion considerations into your ergonomic recommendations?
Love this question. It's about designing for everyone, not just one type of person.
Exactly. The career guide talks about adapting designs for people with disabilities, maybe adjustable workstations for wheelchair users, or tactile markings for the visually impaired.
Such important considerations. What else should we be mindful of when we're thinking about inclusive design?
Body diversity. We need to move past the idea that one size fits all. Adjustable everything. Chairs, desks, tools, you name it.
It's about recognizing that everyone's different, and that's a good thing.
It's all about creating a workplace where everyone feels comfortable and supported, right?
Absolutely. Okay, ready to tackle another question. This one's about handling resistance. That how would you approach a situation where a worker is resistant to an ergonomic intervention? It's not always easy to get everyone on board with change.
It's true. You can't force anyone to embrace ergonomics, but you can help them understand the benefits.
So how do you approach those conversations where someone's hesitant or even pushing back?
Empathy. Put yourself in their shoes. What's driving that resistance? The career guide talks about active listening, really hearing their concerns.
Yeah, instead of just telling them what to do.
Exactly. Ask open-ended questions. What are your thoughts on this new keyboard? Any concerns? That kind of thing.
It's about building that trust, showing them you respect their perspective.
Right. And sometimes a compromise can go a long way. How about you try it out for a week? Let me know what you think.
Finding that middle ground is key.
Yeah.
Okay, shifting gears a bit to long-term solutions. How do you ensure that ergonomic interventions are sustainable over the long term? It's one thing to make a change, but how do you make it stick?
It's about weaving ergonomics into the company culture, training.
Oh, interesting. Like not just a one-time thing, but ongoing.
Absolutely. Make it part of onboarding, have refresher courses. That way everyone's on the same page.
I love that. Ergonomics is part of the company's DNA.
Exactly. And communication is huge. Make it easy for employees to share their feedback and concerns.
Create that culture of continuous improvement.
Right, because things change, technology evolves. What works today might not work tomorrow, so staying adaptable is crucial.
And speaking of measuring what works, here's a big one. How do you measure the effectiveness of ergonomic interventions? We've talked about ROI, but what other factors come into play?
Right, it's not just about the numbers. Employee feedback is invaluable. Surveys, focus groups, even just checking in.
Asking how they're feeling, if they're noticing a difference.
Exactly. Are they more comfortable? Are they more engaged in their work? Their answers tell a powerful story.
It's amazing how a few small changes can make such a big difference in someone's workday.
It really is. And don't underestimate the power of observation. Watch how people work. Are they using the equipment correctly? Are there any awkward movements that could be addressed?
Seeing is believing, as they say.
Yeah.
Okay, this one might make some people nervous. Can you tell us about a time an ergonomic intervention didn't go as planned and what you learned from it? We all make mistakes, right?
We do. And interviewers know that. They're not looking for perfection, but they want to see that you learn from those experiences.
So be honest, be open, but don't be afraid to highlight what you learned.
Exactly. Maybe a new tool wasn't well received, or you faced unexpected resistance. Talk about the challenges, how you address them, and the key takeaways.
It's about showing resilience, that you're always striving to improve.
And don't be afraid to use humor. We've all had those head-scratching moments. A lighthearted anecdote can make you more relatable.
Okay, let's talk budget. Imagine you're working with a limited budget and need to prioritize ergonomic interventions. How would you approach this challenge? That's a real-world scenario for many ergonomists.
It is, and it's a chance to show your strategic thinking. Gather as much information as possible. What are the biggest risks? Where are the most pressing needs?
So a thorough needs assessment is key.
Absolutely. Once you understand the risks and potential costs, you can start exploring cost-effective solutions.
Any examples of budget-friendly interventions that pack a punch?
Adjustable workstations are huge. Monitor stands, keyboard trays, even simple things like that can make a huge difference.
Those are often overlooked, but so important.
Right, and they don't have to be expensive. Get creative, repurpose existing equipment, explore DIY solutions.
Working smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And training. Never underestimate the value of education and empowering employees to work safely.
Such a crucial point. Now, the question that can sometimes feel like a curveball. Do you have any questions for us?
This is your time to shine. Show them you're truly interested, that you've done your homework.
So it's your turn to interview them, in a way.
In a way, yes. Don't be afraid to ask thoughtful questions. What's their commitment to ergonomics? What's their vision for the future of work in their industry?
Asking insightful questions shows you're engaged, you're thinking critically.
And remember, it's not just about them interviewing you. You're also seeing if they're the right fit for you. Do their values align with yours?
And we're back, ready to dive into the final part of our Ergonomist interview prep deep dive.
Let's do it. We've covered a lot of ground already.
We have, but we've got more to tackle. Let's talk ROI. Specifically, that question about measuring it, especially with a tight budget, that comes up a lot, right?
All the time, especially for those more senior roles. It's about balancing that financial savvy with your passion for worker well-being.
So how do you walk that line? Show them you get the business side without compromising your commitment to ergonomics.
Great question. Let's say you're working with a company that's hesitant to spend on ergonomic upgrades. Instead of just listing off solutions, no matter how great they are, flip the script. Focus on the cost of not addressing those issues.
Oh, interesting. So instead of saying, we need this, you're saying, here's what happens if we don't do anything.
Exactly. Talk about those hidden costs. Lost productivity due to discomfort, for example.
Right. When people are hurting, they're not working at their best. More breaks, slower pace, mistakes. It all adds up.
Absolutely. And then there's absenteeism, presenteeism. When people are either out sick or working through pain, it affects everyone.
Not to mention the potential legal and insurance costs if things escalate. Suddenly, those ergonomic solutions don't seem so expensive after all.
Exactly. It's an investment, not just an expense. And when you do present those solutions, focus on the ones that give you the most bang for your buck.
Prioritize the biggest impact areas, right? Speaking of which, what are some budget-friendly options that can make a real difference?
Adjustable workstations are huge and often overlooked. Just having a monitor stand or keyboard tray that's adjusted properly can be a game changer.
Those small tweaks can make such a difference.
And they don't have to break the bank. Get creative. Repurpose old equipment. Look at DIY solutions. There are ways to make it work.
Love that. Resourcefulness is key.
It really is.
Yeah.
And again, training, education. Equipping employees with the knowledge to work safely and ergonomically is a huge win, and it doesn't have to cost a fortune.
Absolutely. Okay, one final question to consider, even though it might not be on the interview guide explicitly. As automation becomes more prevalent, how do you see the role of an ergonomist evolving? Technology changes everything, so how do we adapt?
Such a great question. Here's the thing. Ergonomics isn't just about physical workstations anymore. It's about that human-technology interface.
So as robots take over more tasks, what does that mean for us?
We need to make sure those systems are designed with humans in mind. Cognitive workload, visual ergonomics, even the social interactions between humans and robots. It all matters.
So in a way, we're designing for robots too.
In a way, yes. We need to think about how humans and machines will work together safely and effectively.
That's incredible. It's not just about preventing injuries anymore. It's about optimizing that entire human experience at work, even as work itself changes.
Exactly. And that takes adaptability, a willingness to learn and grow. But that's what makes ergonomics so exciting. It's always evolving.
I love that. And on that note, I think it's time for us to wrap up this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure sharing these insights with you.
We've covered so much. From nailing those interview questions to thinking about the future of the field, we've really explored it all.
And remember, RoleCatcher's got your back, providing those personalized insights to help you shine.
Absolutely. So use those resources, practice those answers, and go ace that interview. That's all for this Stop Dive. Until next time, stay curious.